Hey guys, it's Nathan from the Kentucky Cycling YouTube channel. We are in Eden Valley, Minnesota, which is a little small town in Minnesota that is really the destination of our family history road trip that I'm doing with my dad this week. As I mentioned in previous videos, we're taking this opportunity to build in little stops along the way to break up our time in the car with little side trips along multi-use trails for the most part. But given that this is sort of the object of why we're coming, decided to do a ride in Eden Valley. Eden Valley is the hometown of my grandfather, so my dad's dad, and where our surname, the Rome family, or they, as they used to say here, Romy, before they left Eden Valley, came and settled when they came from Luxembourg. And then they're not as just the Rome family, but there's also a lot of other family. The other big family name here is Arnold, and there's a lot of family history that I've grown up hearing, but I've never been here. So my grandfather actually moved away from Eden Valley over 100 years ago, but my dad's had the occasion of visiting here multiple times, and so we thought we'd come up and make a little bit of a trek of family history here to go check out some of the sites. So if you stick around and watch this video, you're going to learn more about my family history, but what I hope that you'll actually get out of it is a couple things. One is, if you're a long-term viewer of this channel, you'll know that I really love exploring places by bike. So when the opportunity came to arise to visit my grandfather's hometown and where there's all this family history on my paternal line, I thought it would be really cool to explore by bike. And I also think that if you're someone who maybe has a burgeoning interest in genealogy and kind of researching your family history, it's a really powerful experience when you're experiencing a brand new place that you've never been before, to know that you actually have ties to that community. So I've never been, this is my first trip other than flying through Minnesota, my first trip ever into the state of Minnesota, yet I have really deep roots here. So I'm gonna be exploring those roots, little Finding Your Roots series, if you will, and we're gonna visit some graves and some houses and some places in town that actually have ties to my family, and we're gonna do it all in the seat of a bicycle. So if you want to come along and join us for that ride, stick around and you'll learn some more about my family and a little maybe about Eden Valley, Minnesota. Really looking forward to this ride. Like I said, it's the reason why we're doing this trip this week is for our time in this town, but do stick around. And we're actually going to pick up a few extra states, so there'll be a couple more videos coming in the series. Really looking forward to it. Eden Valley Hawks. So we are on Stearns, and we're pretty sure that this is the building that housed Romy's Bar, which was owned by my great uncle Bill Rome, and also at one point by my great uncle George Rome. And they came from the Romes, or the Romys, were bartenders. My dad's grandfather was a bartender, as was his brother Philip was a bartender. So long line of bartenders here in Eden Valley. So we were on State Street, and this building, which is Andy's Hometown Tavern, was once called the Corner Bar. And my dad visited here in 1965. What do you remember about your experience of coming to the Corner Bar in 1965?
It was after church on Sunday, and it was full of people, and I was related probably to the majority of them. My uncle just took me down the line and introduced me to everybody. It was really nice. Everybody was very friendly.
All right, we're standing in front of Assumption Catholic Church, and we think that our family had a long tie to this church, right, Daddy?
Yes.
I think your grandparents would have gotten married here, is that correct?
Probably, yes.
And they definitely went to church here and raised their family here.
We have a picture confirmation photo. It was probably taken in this building, I would think.
So lots of, again, family history. Your aunt ended up becoming a nun.
Yes.
And I guess she would have received at least her formative education, you know, here. And we're gonna head on up State Street up to the Assumption Cemetery, where a number of our relatives are buried.
Yes.
Okay, so we are at Assumption Catholic Cemetery on State Route 22, and this is the grave of this gentleman's grandparents, Peter Rome and Josephine Arnold Rome, and actually his Peter's brother, Philip, who he was also in the bar business, and his wife Margaret are right here. This would be my great grandparents, and we'll come back. You want to say a little bit? So I guess the Romes immigrated here from Luxembourg. Both of these gentlemen were actually born in Luxembourg and came here in what year?
Early 1880s.
And then Josephine's family has more prominence, and so we'll talk about her father on our next cemetery stop, and he has quite a few descendants. But is there anything that you want to say about this particular site or about their coming to Eden Valley?
I'm just glad they did. Glad they met here. Yeah, the rest is history.
Obviously, we wouldn't be here if they hadn't come here and met here. So thank you, Peter and Josephine. Bales Lake Road. Dick Arnold actually assembled a family history for a gentleman named George Arnold, George Arnold and his three brothers were homesteaders in this area. And there's an account from his son Martin, who my grandfather's middle name was named after his favorite uncle Martin, who said when they were kids and his mother wanted fish for dinner, that they would come out here and go fishing. And so this was one of their food sources to get fish. So pretty cool to think about and to be here and think about our relatives from more than it's probably 150 years ago or something like that, you know, here fishing this lake to get their dinner. Okay, so we are at the grave of George Arnold, who is this guy's great-grandfather. And you help me fill in the gaps here, but for what I think I know about him is that he came to the United States by way of Switzerland, so he was Swiss German, I guess, and came here when he was 19 years old.
Yes.
Came here shortly before the Civil War broke out, and then joined the volunteer 1st Minnesota Regiment, where he then fought in the Battle of Gettysburg, among others. And he was, at Gettysburg, he was wounded in both the shoulder and the leg. And I know when I visited Gettysburg, I thought a lot about the fact that if he had died there, we wouldn't be here. But it certainly helps to bring that history to life. And we were able to go and find a marker for where the 1st Minnesota led their charge in that major battle that we all, in terms of U.S. history, know so well. So he then, I guess, met his wife here in Minnesota, Mary Wolter, and then he and his three brothers came to homestead in this area. So what'd you say a little bit about that?
They came in 1872. They homesteaded each 160 acres, and they were all in the same square mile. And then one of the requirements of homesteading is you had to prove your homestead by living on it for 5 years. So the four brothers built a house right where their four plots, quarter sections met, and they each had a bedroom on their own section of the 640 acres.
Do you know how many kids he had?
I think 8 that went to adulthood.
Okay. And then one of those was Josephine, who is your grandmother. This area is called Luxembourg Township.
Yes. He served on the council for 20 years of the township.
Okay. So we've ridden out sort of northeast of Eden Valley, and somewhere in this vicinity is the area that George Arnold and his four brothers would have homesteaded. And of course it would have looked pretty radically different from what we're looking at now. Would have been a really heavily wooded area, but this is kind of the general vicinity in the area known as Luxembourg Township. So we have found what it was probably not the original Arnold Brothers homestead, but is definitely on George Arnold's plot. So this was likely his family, home for his family. And you were here 19 years ago?
Yes.
And we were able to compare a picture and with this building, figure out it's the same building. So it's really come down in on it, so it's kind of hard to see much. But you said you had a cousin who was living here until when?
Second cousin, and I don't know until when, but they were here in 1965.
Oh, you visited this house in 1965, and someone was living here.
4th of July, and we lit up cherry bombs and all that good stuff. And there was a family here. And this was also the site of the homestead of the Arnold reunion in 1987. Had it here.
As always, we hope you found this content useful. If you did, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.